Okay. Aha, I see that my co-host has started recording. Awesome. So great. So welcome to this webinar on City Nature Challenge. It's very exciting for us because this is our second year participating. So I'm just going to give some background on like what the event is and how you can participate. And I'm not sure if we have any educators on the call with us, but if so, I'll also give some tips of how this can be incorporated into classes. Just an image on this front page is our banner for our project page on iNaturalist, which is like a citizen science platform which is used for the City Nature Challenge. And I've provided the link here as well if you want to check that out. And I'll be talking about this later on in the presentation. Why isn't this working? There we go. Okay, so this is just the outline for today. It should be roughly like 30 minutes. This was my note to self to record the meeting, which we are doing, which is awesome. So I'm just going to go over what is the City Nature Challenge and just a brief history of this event. And then I'm going to talk about why this event is important and then how you can contribute to this year's global event. And we hope to do this every year. So like I said, this is our second year participating. So this will hopefully become an annual event for the Inland Empire region. So for those of you who are on this call today, this is pretty informal. This is sort of a webinar, but if you have any questions throughout, feel free to stop me or message me in the chat, and I'll try to pay attention to the chat. Sometimes it's hard to kind of multitask with all this stuff, but yeah, feel free to just interrupt if you have any questions, but there'll also be time at the end for questions as well. Okay, and then before I begin, so I know, maybe you have to leave early and you can't stay for this whole webinar. So I just wanted to draw your attention to some important web pages that you can access if you wanted to read about this on your own time. So notably is the City Nature Challenge website, so citynaturechallenge.org, which will talk all about the event and give resources. And then we upload observations of nature through iNaturalist, which is, this is the website right here. Okay, yeah, and I see Alanis has put this in the chat, so that's great. And then within iNaturalist, there's some helpful pages. So this is the getting started link in case this gives instructions of just how to get started through using iNaturalist, which is the app that I'll go over. And then this is the link to our Inland Empire project page. And that was the link that I had on the title slide. And I'll have these links throughout the presentation as well. Okay, so if you're not familiar with what the City Nature Challenge is, what is it? So it's a friendly competition among cities to collect biodiversity data, so observations of nature in the area. And it's a way to connect community members and the public with local nature. So it's a way for people to just learn about the nature that occurs around them. And kind of the larger context, these observations can then be used for scientific research to help kind of understand how humans might be impacting wildlife or plants, and then how we can maybe improve conservation management of our local species. So the main steps is to find wildlife, so look for nature, take a picture of what you see or an audio recording. So we also accept any audio recordings, and then share that information with a social network of naturalists. And the social network that we use is called iNaturalist. So this is just a community science platform for housing these nature observations that people upload. And what's really great about the City Nature Challenge is it occurs during an extended weekend once a year, usually around Earth Day. And what's awesome is, there's people participating all over the world, but during the exact same time period, all doing the same thing. So going outside, observing nature, getting to understand what occurs around them. And so collectively, we're all participating in this global collaborative event. So it's really awesome to just think about, you're doing the exact same thing that people around the entire world are also doing. So you're part of this community of naturalists that are going out and looking for nature. So I just want to provide you with some brief history of the event. So the City Nature Challenge started in 2016, so it hasn't been around for that long. And it started in, let me move some of my Zoom stuff. I can't see my writing. So it was for the first Citizen Science Day. And it was started by the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County and the California Academy of Sciences, which is up in San Francisco. And it was basically just like a friendly competition between these two cities. So it was LA versus SF, and they just wanted to see, let's get our communities mobilized and who can observe the most species. And they wanted to see who could beat each other, because there was a little kind of NorCal versus SoCal rivalry. Here we go. So the first City Nature Challenge, only 2 cities took part. Whoops. And it was a great event. So, over 1,000 people participated. So for the very first time, that was pretty encouraging. And over 2,500 species were found. So it was a great way to kind of get people mobilized and a kind of a proof of concept that organizing this weekend kind of BioBlitz event might work. So the next year, in 2017, it was expanded to the rest of the United States. So 17 cities participated in the 2017 City Nature Challenge. And again, it just grew. So more than 4,000 people participated in that event. More than 8,000 species were documented, including lots of rare, endangered, or threatened species, which was really cool. So maybe understanding more about these vulnerable populations. And just lots of people participated, like thousands of people got involved in 2017. So we can fast forward to last year's event in 2020. It is now on a global scale. So we had over 244 cities that participated last year, including the Inland Empire, so San Bernardino and Riverside counties, which was our first time. And even though this took place basically at the start of the COVID pandemic, and we were all worried that, we weren't going to have any participation because a lot of people were on lockdown. But even so, we still had over 41,000 people participating across the world, almost 1 million observations made, which is awesome. And over 32,000 species were documented, including more than 1,300 rare and endangered species. So even though we were in the midst of a global pandemic, it was still a pretty big success. And again, the Inland Empire, this last year was our very first year participating in the City Nature Challenge. This is what these are some stats on our iNaturalist project page from last year. So even for our very first year, we had over 11,000 observations, which is really awesome, of over 1,800 species. And we had over 500 people participate in our region. So we had some good participation for our first year and during the middle of a global pandemic. So we're hoping that this year we can even ramp up our numbers even more. These sort of pie charts or kind of circle charts at the bottom give some breakdowns of what we observed. So most of our observations made what's known as research grade, which means that these observations can be used by scientists in scientific research. And then you'll also notice that we had, most of our observations were of plants and insects, but we still have some good representation from other groups as well. Here's a map of our observations that were submitted to last year's event. So you can see that our boundaries include all of San Bernardino and Riverside counties. And then each of these sort of red squares represents like kind of density of observations. So you can really see that where human population is the largest, we get the most observations. So more in the urban areas, and then out in the desert, we don't have good representation. So we're hoping this year to kind of expand it out to desert regions. Okay, and here's just some City Nature Challenge through numbers throughout the years. So again, we can see how the number of cities that have taken part has really grown over the years. And this year, I think there'll be over 300 cities across all continents, excluding Antarctica. We can see how the number of observations submitted to iNaturalist, which is the platform we use, has increased. We do have a dip in 2020 just because that is when the pandemic was occurring. But even so, we observed more species last year than ever before and had more observers last year than ever before. So again, very encouraging results. This graph is really awesome. So this is the number of observations submitted per week to the iNaturalist platform. And then each of these arrows represents a City Nature Challenge event weekend when the event occurred. So you can see that every time the City Nature Challenge occurs, we get an increase in the number of observations submitted, because this is the point of the City Nature Challenge, is to mobilize people to get them out observing nature and submitting them to iNaturalist. But what's really awesome is you'll see that the baseline level shifts every year. So even after the City Nature Challenge, people continue to use the app. And so the baseline use throughout the years is just growing and growing. And this is really the point of the event, is to just get people to continue on after this weekend, to just get really excited about whatever they see, submit it to iNaturalist, because it's going to become valuable data in the future. So here's our map for this year. So as you can see, there's hundreds of cities participating, notably in North and South America. We have a lot of representation, and in Europe, but every continent is represented except Antarctica. So it will be really exciting to see what people find. So here's some dates for this year's event. So even though I'm doing this webinar this week, the City Nature Challenge doesn't start till next Friday. So if you're interested in participating, you can maybe practice this week, and then once Friday hits, it's going to be April 30th to May 3rd, which is Friday through Monday, so kind of the extended weekend. And this is the opportunity to take photographs of any nature that you see, and then upload it to the iNaturalist app, and then it will be filtered into the City Nature Challenge results. And then there's sort of like a period, kind of a grace period. So this gives a chance for people who took a bunch of photographs, they have several days afterwards to then upload their observations, and then provide identifications to those observations. And then we will announce the results on May 10th. And the results include just like total numbers of species, number of people who participated, and if anything interesting was found. And so I'll talk about some of these interesting results in a little bit. Okay, this year, so we are one of 6 California regions that are participating. So we'll be competing against these different regions in California. So we have 3 regions of Northern California and then 4 in Southern California. I also think Baja California is also participating. So this is exciting because we can kind of compare what we're finding to different regions. Okay, so I'm going on to my next section. So why participating in this event is important, and why I hope I get you excited to participate. So we'll talk about community, education, science, and conservation. So the City Nature Challenge has several kind of overlapping goals. So number 1 is to connect people with local nature, especially in areas that maybe we don't view as being natural, so such as like urban and metro regions. It also brings people together because you become part of an online community of naturalists from around the world. So it's a great way to build community in whatever region you're in. And then every observation that's submitted is a valuable data point that can go towards understanding biodiversity for conservation managers or scientists. And so we have a growing volunteer base that's documenting biodiversity worldwide. And it's just a good excuse to get out and have some fun. So if you just want to go explore a new nature area or just need an excuse to go for a walk in your neighborhood, this is a great, just a great event to participate in. So from a scientific standpoint, so I'm an urban ecologist, and it's very difficult to study animals or plants in urban environments because urban areas are mostly private property. So as a scientist, I can't just go out and do a transect through this through this neighborhood because I'd be trespassing on people's lawns and maybe have the cops called on me. So this is a great way, by using iNaturalist data, to sort of crowdsource data collection from these hard to access areas. So community science refers to scientists like me partnering with the general public and for data collection or to answer real world research questions. And so this event, like the City Nature Challenge, is a great way to kind of crowdsource data from hard to reach areas. And sort of like I've been talking about, every single observation submitted to the iNaturalist app is a data point. So every single, every single dot on this map here is an observation a single person submitted and has valuable information that I could use. So what organism was observed, and it has a date and time stamp, and I have the geographic locality. And so with this data, we can address several things. What's also great is a single scientist can't study a large area, but multiple people throughout the region submitting a handful of observations at a time is a great way to study big areas. So again, crowdsourcing data. And iNaturalist has really been great for various types of studies. So looking at species distribution, so where organisms occur, the timing of events. So for instance, maybe migration of birds. So when birds arrive to certain areas, that can be noted. Or just the timing of like, when are you most likely to see these animals? Creating biodiversity estimates, looking at suitability of habitats for different species. And then individual observations on their own might be very important. So there could be new occurrence records. So maybe a species has never been observed in the region before, and someone who uploaded a picture is the first to ever document that species in that area. Or people might observe some rarely observed behaviors that can be really important. So I'll give some examples. So I'm also a herpetologist, which means I study reptiles and amphibians. So rattlesnakes are one of my favorite species. The red diamond rattlesnake is a local species in the Inland Empire region, and it's a species of conservation concern in California, mainly because it's threatened due to habitat loss. So this is, you can see this graph here. This shows the number of iNaturalist observations that were submitted over the course of a year. So we can see that red diamond rattlesnakes are most likely to be observed in the spring and not really observed in the winter. So we can get data on activity times. So when are organisms most likely to be active and observed? And if we have multiple years worth of these data, we can then see how are things changing over time. So maybe due to climate change, these activity times are changing. We also get species distribution maps. So these are all the iNaturalist observations of this rattlesnake. And we can see where does this species occur? So its distribution. How does this change over time? So maybe over the years, its distribution might be growing or shrinking, perhaps due to human activities. So these data can be used to create kind of habitat suitability maps. So for instance, Amanda Zellmer is a professor at Occidental College, and she's studying urban salamanders, and she's created this sort of heat map through iNaturalist observations to determine which areas are suitable habitat and which areas are not suitable habitat. So the warm regions, so like the red and orange colors, are areas with suitable habitat, whereas the purple and blue regions are like very poor habitat. So that this might give us an idea of like, well, which areas should we be conserving for this species? So those kind of map large scale species distribution, habitat suitability, rely on lots of observations submitted from multiple individuals. But even a single observation submitted by one person can be really informative and important. So 2 years ago during the City Nature Challenge, Kim Moore submitted this photograph of a bird, which, you know, maybe she's just like, oh, that's a pretty bird. She might not have realized that this is the first record of this species in LA County since 2005. This bird had not been observed for over 10 years, and maybe people thought it was extinct in the region. And her observations show that it's actually still there. We also got 2 years ago one of our first records of this invasive flatworm in Oakland, California. So this flatworm is native to Japan. It has never been observed in the United States ever until this person participated in the City Nature Challenge and submitted this photograph. Oh, and here's a close-up of the head of the flatworm. So again, this is a really important observation, just understanding what occurs in the US. So we often get some cool photographs or observations of rare behaviors, such as predator-prey interactions. So one animal eating another animal. So last year we had this just awesome observation of this spotted harlequin snake I think this was in South Africa, of a snake eating another snake. And then in our region, in the Inland Empire, this common desert centipede eating a little side blotch lizard. So these are great observations, and we can get dietary information of what these organisms eat. And oftentimes this kind of data is really difficult to obtain. Okay, so finally, I want to give a local example. So these are the iNaturalist observations for California State University, San Bernardino, and kind of the surrounding area. Before the 2020 City Nature Challenge, so basically since the beginning of iNaturalist to 2020, this is what we had in our region. So we had documented about 60 species that occur on and around campus. And we had about 43 people who observed this and 192 observations, like literally over, so I think iNaturalist was founded in 2009. So over a 10-year time frame. Within a single year, so after having the 2020 City Nature Challenge, which was our first time participating, so within a single year of like promoting the use of iNaturalist and getting students involved in this event, we've increased the number of our observations just on and around campus by 80%. We've increased the number of species that we know to occur in our region by 32%. So we've documented 19 new species that occur on and around campus that had never been recorded before. And we've increased participation by 23%. So this is just in a single year of having one City Nature Challenge event and promoting the use of iNaturalist. And we've recorded one new lizard and one new snake, and the new snake I just saw yesterday. So this is my observation from yesterday. This species had not been observed before, at least in our region. Okay, so now we can get into how you can participate. So again, we are still more than a week away. So the City Nature Challenge doesn't start till next Friday. So April 30th to May 3rd. And this is the time in which you are encouraged to take photographs of any nature that you see. So wild plants, animals, fungi. It could even be signs of life, like a nest or scat, or like a footprint, maybe you see in like the mud or something like that. So step one is to just go out during this time frame and look for wildlife. And some tips are to think about, what do things you use as habitat? So think about sources of food, water, or shelter. Look up, because sometimes animals are up in the sky or up in trees. And also look down. So a lot of animals spend their time in the ground or underneath objects. So you want to think about, where are things going to be found? Step two is then to record your observations on iNaturalist. The easiest way is using the smartphone app. And it is available for iOS and Android. But you can also, if you have like a digital camera that you want to use, like an SLR, that's also feasible to upload through the website. So you can kind of put them onto your computer and then upload them on the website. But I think it's easiest to just do it through the app. And iNaturalist is first and foremost a social network for naturalists and scientists. So it's a way to record observations, then you upload them to share them with the fellow naturalists. And there's a social media aspect to this website/app. So people can get excited about what you found and maybe comment on that or provide suggestions for species IDs. So I'm not going to go through a whole iNaturalist tutorial today, just because it's kind of difficult in a virtual format. And I think it's best for people just play around with it on their phone. But I've provided, let me switch to my pen, provided a link, or if you want to, take a picture of this, or just go to iNaturalist Getting Started guide is a really great place to start. But essentially, it's basically what I've just talked about. You go out, first you create an iNaturalist account. Then you go out, take a picture of any nature that you see. And if you're using a smartphone, you don't have to note the date, the time, or the location, because it will automatically be embedded in your digital image. And then you upload that to the app. And then eventually people will comment on your observation. So iNaturalist has really great, on this getting started page, it has really great instructions on how to do this. So they have instructions for if you have an iPhone, because it's a little bit different if you're using an iPhone versus an Android. And then they have instructions for if you're using an Android phone. And again, I'm not going to go through it step by step, and it's pretty straightforward once you start using the app. But I encourage you, if you're interested in incorporating this either in a class or just on your own personal use, go to the iNaturalist Getting Started guide, and they have these really great infographics. Okay, so once you've downloaded iNaturalist and learn how to use the app, which again is really straightforward and easy, next weekend, you're going to go out and look for nature. So what are different ways that you can participate? Well, first, just going out for a walk. So go outdoors and search for nature. So you can go to a park, or you can go to your favorite hiking trail, or maybe explore a new place that you haven't gone before. Or maybe you don't even want to go outside. That's fine. You can even see what's in your house. So you might find little spiders or insects hiding in your home or even in your yard. And these observations you make in your house might make it to the Never Home Alone project, which is one of the projects on iNaturalist, which is documenting the wildlife of homes. So if you're curious, I would recommend checking out this project because it's really fun to see what people are finding in their homes. We also have lots of great local partners in the Inland Empire region. So the San Bernardino County Museum, Victor Valley Museum, and Inland Empire Resource Conservation District are all participating this year. And so I just took a screenshot of like one of the things that they've posted on their Facebook page. And I provided the links to their social media Facebook pages if you want to check out what they're doing for this year's event. But I know they're very excited to participate this year. And so you can check out what plans they have, and maybe you want to participate with them. And if you're an educator that's on this Zoom call, you can incorporate this into your classes. So either as an individual or group project. So I have students in my class that they have an iNaturalist project throughout the whole semester, where they have to take so many observations and observe so many species. But I know that's kind of last minute to do something like that now because it's only a week away. But you might want to offer extra credit to your students for submitting observations, and that's what I'll be doing next week. And what's really great is the iNaturalist website and the City Nature Challenge website have really great examples and guides for how to incorporate this types of stuff into the classroom. So the teacher's guide on iNaturalist is super helpful for just incorporating iNaturalist beyond the City Nature Challenge. And then the education toolkit on the City Nature Challenge website is another great resource. So the teacher's guide, I've provided what the URL for this is here. But again, if you just go to iNaturalist website and search for it, you can find it. They have a list of just lots of examples of how teachers can incorporate this, along with different curricula, like handouts that you can use. And then what's great on the City Nature Challenge website is they have the education toolkit. And again, it's basically what we've been talking about. So getting outdoors, taking pictures of what you find, and then integrating this somehow into your curriculum. And what's really great about the education toolkit is they have links for different age groups. So whether you're, elementary school to high school to higher education, or maybe you don't work with students, but you want to work with the general public, they have all these different links for different types of resources depending on which types of students you're interested in working with. Okay, so I just want to get these dates out there again. So April 30th to May 3rd is the event in which we're going to go outside and see how many observations we could take of nature in our area. We have a grace period from May 4th to 9th to upload those observations. And then the results will be announced May 10th. So we'll see where we stand with the other California regions. And I encourage you, if you're really interested in participating, to create, if you don't already have one, create an iNaturalist account and join our project page. So I've put the URL for our project page here. And this is on the iNaturalist website. Once you create an iNaturalist account, once you go to our project page, there will be a button in the upper right-hand corner. Mine says members because I'm already a member, but if you're not a member, it'll say join right here. So then you can join the project. Once you've joined the project, you can receive email updates on things that are happening. But you don't have to join the project to participate. So as long as you have an iNaturalist account and you are submitting observations that were taken between April 30th and May 3rd, anywhere within San Bernardino County or Riverside County, they will automatically be filtered to our project. So you don't have to join the project to participate, but I suggest joining so that you receive email updates about just about the project. And I'm happy, once you join a naturalist, you can message me. So I'm the project manager, but I'm also happy to answer any of your questions if you just want to shoot me an email too. Okay, so this is the end of my webinar, and I just want to share my favorite observation from the City Nature Challenge last year, which was observed in San Diego. And it was a video taken of surfers on bioluminescent dinoflagellates. And this was considered a research grade observation on iNaturalist. So you could see that they're making the waves like kind of glow blue. So it was pretty exciting to see this on iNaturalist. Okay, and I think with that, I'm done and I'm happy to answer any questions should you have them. Oh, I see, Sally, you asked, can you paste the link in the chat? Let me get the link. Discard. Miguel, you have a question? I'll post this in the chat.
Yeah, what is considered research grade observation?
That's a great question. So let me do this. Let me post this in the chat real quick. Okay, yeah, so research grade. Okay, I just posted in the chat for our project page for Inland Empire. Research grade means that it has a photo. There's a photo voucher. It has been positively identified with more than 2/3 agreement that it is that species. So once you submit something to iNaturalist, you will suggest what you think it is. And there's an AI function that's really great. So you don't have to know how to ID anything. You just say like, I think this is this lizard that occurs in my neighborhood. But then other people will go in and confirm whether you are correct or not. So once it reaches 2/3 agreement, then it has like a verified taxonomic or like species ID. So research grade is it has to have a photo, a verified ID, a latitude and longitude. So there has to be like a locality, and there has to be a date and a time stamp. And it has to be a wild organism. So if it's like a captive animal, that wouldn't make research grade.
You.
Yeah, most, I wouldn't say most observations, it depends on the taxa, but a lot of observations make research grade. It's not that difficult, especially if you're using a cell phone. So like I was saying, like a smartphone already embeds sort of that locality and time and date data.
Then one more question. Is this only, so you mentioned plant life. Is this, would trees also be?
Definitely. So
Awesome.
it could be any sign of life, anything that is living, or any even sign of life. So like, I think I mentioned this at the beginning. So it could be like a nest, or like scat, or even like a paw print. So say you go hiking and you see like, a print in the dirt, that can also be uploaded, those types of observations. Or like anything you find dead. So if you find like a skeleton or something, that would also count. So yeah, trees are definitely plants. Okay, great. Any more questions? I don't know if we had any educators on the call, but I'm happy to chat about how I've incorporated iNaturalist into my classes and what I plan to do this year for the City Nature Challenge.
Bree, so I created an account on my phone on iNaturalist, but I'm not, and I went to, on my laptop, I went to this website. I'm not entirely sure how to join your group.
So it'll be, oh, let's see if I can do my pen. So once you get to this webpage, it'll be up here.
Okay, so I click on that and it will give me an option to join, or?
Yes, so if you haven't joined, it won't say members, it will say join, and then you click that.
Okay.
Yes, so it's because I'm already a member, it says members.
Well, so mine says members too, so maybe I automatically got joined somehow.
You could have, yeah. But like I said, so joining, you don't have to join to participate. So as long as you submit an or as long as you take an observation during this time frame, anywhere within San Bernardino or Riverside counties, it will automatically upload to our project.
Okay.
So it sort of kind of reduces the barrier to participation because no one actually has to join. And so people will participate unknowingly. So, right. So they might just download iNaturalist on their own time without even knowing that the City Nature Challenge is going on. And as long as they're within San Bernardino or Riverside County, their observations will automatically filter into our project. But joining is just nice to receive kind of email updates. So you see it says journal right here. I haven't posted anything yet, but once I do a journal post, it will like send that email out to all the members. So we can, if you want to receive those emails, then you can join.
Okay, I see the join button now, so, okay.
Awesome, yeah, great. Glad to have you on board.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
It's really fun. I mean, my students always say it's like Pokemon Go because you're like searching for different things and you want to find like the rare, the rare thing. You want to have the unique observations.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm happy to stick around if there's any more questions. And if not, then I hope to see your observations over next weekend.